Hello everyone, today we'll learn about Azure Firewall. How can we access virtual machines through firewall from public from our laptop or from public device. We'll try to configure that firewall today. First I will put one diagram, then we'll see how it looks like when we access one VM through firewall. Then I'll create one VNET virtual network. I'll give the virtual network name VNET 1 and the subnet would be 10.0.0.0.16. Okay, so this is the subnet of that VNet. Then I'll create one this is the VNet subnet, and this is the VM. I'll create one subnet for VM and another subnet for firewall. So this subnet name I would give VM subnet, and the subnet prefix would be 10.0.1.0/24. Okay, here I'll create another subnet, that is Azure Firewall subnet, and the subnet would be 10.0.2.0/24. Okay, so the location and here the region would be I'll choose Central US. Okay, inside that I'll create one virtual machine, and here inside here I'll create one firewall. Okay, I want to give this virtual machine name as VM1, and here the firewall name as FW1. Okay, then I need to create one my local user machine from where I want to so here it will be user. Okay, then what the user will try to access this VM1 through this firewall. Okay, so let me create one VNet first in Central US region. I'll go to virtual network, I'll create pay-as-you-go service, and I'll have a resource group myRG. Then I'll give VNet 1. Okay, then I'll choose Central US, go for next IP address. Then here I already have that subnet as we have in this paint, what we have already mentioned, 10.0.0.0/16. that subnet, it is already here. So I need to create two subnets. Default subnet, I will remove that default subnet. I will create a two subnet. One should be VM subnet, that VM subnet 10.0.1.0/24. it is exactly 10.0.1.0/24. then I'll just add it. I'll create another subnet, and I'll give the specific name Azure Firewall subnet. This subnet of firewall name has been suggested by Azure, so we should give Azure Firewall subnet so that it will be distinct and it will identify as this subnet is only associated with this Azure firewalls. So the subnet I want to give is 10.0.2.0 /24 the prefix, and I will add that one. I'll next review create. Once the final validation will complete, then I will create it. Okay, so now our VNet and VM subnet and Azure Firewall subnet is being created. Now I will create one VM. Then I'll go to another portal. Let it be let this VNet created. Now I think this virtual network is created now. Okay, so here I'll go to virtual machine to create one new virtual machine. I'll select as a pay-as-you-go service. Then resource group myRG, virtual machine name. As I said, it is VM1, and I'll choose the region Central US. Okay, Central US region. Okay, I want to choose to 19 data center, to standard DS11 CPU. Then I'll choose the username bbschin2 as my username and my password. Again my same password. Okay, I want to access this virtual machine through firewall, so I don't need any public inbound ports here, so I'll choose as none. Click this. I'll go to networking. So here virtual network, it is already selected because I have only one virtual network, and subnet is VM subnet. If you see, Azure Firewall subnet is already faded out because this Azure portal knows that this is only for firewalls, not for any virtual machine or any other devices or machines. So that's why it is just faded out, and we have only VM subnet here. Okay, so here I don't need any public IP because I want to access this VM through the firewall. So I don't need public IP. I'll just give that no. Then I'll click next on management. I'll leave it like that. I'll go to advanced. I don't need to any change. Tags, nothing need to do. Then I'll review and create. Once it will be validated, then I'll click on create. Yeah, so deployment started. Now the next step is, yeah, so our deployment is almost completed. Is already completed. So the next step is we'll create one firewall. So I'll go to home, and here I'll click firewall and create. Here I'll choose the subscription as pay as you go, as it is my subscription. Okay, let me choose my resource group myRG. Then I'll use the firewall name as FW1. Then use region central. Availability zone is there. I won't choose anything because it is not mandatory. I could choose anything, zone 2, zone 3, zone 1, but I don't want to choose anything. I'll choose firewall tier as a standard tier. I don't need premium one. And here use a firewall policy to manage this firewall. So that one, if we have any existing policy, then we can just use that policy. Like standard policies or anything, or filter by name, we can add policies and we can use that. But for now I'll use that use firewall rule to manage this firewall. So classic rule, I'll use that. Choose a virtual network. I have already existing virtual network. I am using VNET as a virtual network, and public IP address I want to create one public IP. So So it is telling that already the public IP is already there. So I'll give another name, public IP2. All right. So once I give the public IP2, I'll review it and I'll create it. Okay, here I'll wait for it to be completed. Then I'll go for configuration inside firewall. It will take 3 to 5 minutes. So our deployment is succeeded now. The firewall is created. I'll go to firewall. So inside that firewall, I will go to rules. In classic, I need to uh, create a NAT rule collection. I want to give one name, that NAT rule. Numeric value I'll give 100. Name here I'll give rule 1. Port I'll select TCP port, and address type is IP address. Source I would choose star. Star means any source it will come. Then destination address would be public IP of firewall. So let me check what is the public IP of firewall. This is the firewall. Okay, yeah. So this is the public IP of firewall. Let me update in our diagram first. Okay, firewall public IP of firewall. Yeah, so public IP is updated, and that same IP I need to put here under NAT rule destination address, because when this machine try to connect this VM, they will go through this public IP. So I'll go to destination port. Destination port would be 3389. Translated address would be VM private IP. So I'll go to VM private IP. From where I'll get to know, I'll go to virtual machine, and inside that virtual machine I'll go to, I need the private IP. Okay, so private IP here 10.0.1.4. So I'll update that private IP here. Okay, so I need to put that private IP translated address, because when we'll access this public IP, then it will go to this private IP, so that it will translate there, and it will translate through a 3389 port, because I want to access through RDP. So I will add that. Okay, so now let me connect to this VM. I'm unable to connect because the firewall said that it can only connect to the firewall, so I have not created any connection um, from my local machine to firewall. So to create that connection, I need to create one route table. So to create that route table, I need to go to route tables. Then here I need to create a table. Okay. So here pay as you go subscription I chose my RG as resource group and region to central US, name my route table. Okay. So gateway routes, yes. So let me create. We'll wait for some time, and when it will create firewall rule and this route table, then we'll be back. Yeah, so our deployment succeeded now. Firewall rules have been updated, and route table also created. I'll go to route table, and inside that route table I'll create on the routes, and here I'll add one route. So route name I'll give as route 1. So address prefix would be so I want to access through internet. So what should I do? I want to put as IP address and 0.0.0 slash 0. Next hop type is yeah. So next hop type I should use virtual IP address and 1 second. Yeah, so here I'll give next hop IP address. It will be firewall private IP address. So I'll go to firewall. So if you see the firewall private IP address, it is 10.0.2.0. So let me update that in diagram, that private IP. Okay, so that I need to update in this next hop IP address and click on add. Okay, so now I want to connect this firewall. When I put this rule as this NAT rule, this NAT rule says that when I'll try to connect this destination IP like public IP, then it will translate it to this address like my VM address, then I can connect that one. So I'll go to RDP and I'll put my firewall public IP address. Then it will ask me my username and password of, I'll put my VM username and password. And it will connect to my VM. And now connection is going through my firewall. So when I try to connect my firewall public IP, it will connect to my VM. So I'm inside VM. Let me check internet. Okay, it is loading a little bit slow. Let me open Internet Explorer. Let me put google.com. So if you see so when I put google.com, then you can see the site is opening. Okay, Google is opening here. Okay, so why internet is accessible? Because this internet is accessible to this this VM, because there is one backbone network, Microsoft backbone network is there. Then that VM connect to its backbone network. Then we connect into this internet. Now how can we access, how are we accessing this? We are accessing in this way, but we should access our VM through one routing table, and this routing table must so we should create one route table, so that whenever we will try to access, then it will access through this firewall. And the internet also, it will also will have some rule through this firewall, so that we can access internet or not. It should be decided by firewall. Okay, so now we'll configure this route table. Yeah, so yeah, you have already created this route, and we'll try to associate this route into our subnet, virtual network mynet and VNet, and subnet VM subnet. So I'll associate this route. Okay, then I'll try to access google.com again inside this. Yeah, so if you see now, no sites are accessible because I attached one firewall rule to the uh, to this VM, so there is no internet now. You cannot access any sites. Even if I'll try microsoft.com, then there is no rule to match proceeding with the default action. So suppose I need to access specific website, then what I need to do, I'll need to uh, I need to allow specific website, then I'll need to configure something in firewall. go to firewall, I'll click on rules. If you see here, one application rule collection is there. Under the application rule collection, I'll add one application. Here I'll give rule 1 priority. I'll give 101 or anything. Suppose I'll give 5000 priority or 5001. Action should be allow. And target FQDM name I'll give suppose I'll give rule 1. Okay, source address type is IP address and source is anything, like I'll give star, and protocol port I'll give HTTP comma HTTPS. Okay, then target FQDN I would give anything related to star.google.com, and also I want to give star.facebook.com. I want to access these two sites. Okay, I'll add this rule.